Imagine deciding to step away from the chaos of the city, spending the night in a grand, isolated house, no neighbors, no traffic, no noise. At first, it feels calming, just you, your family, and the quiet. But slowly, strange things begin to happen. The internet disappears, the power goes out, phone signals vanish, the car suddenly stops working. And that night, you begin to realize something terrifying. The world out there is collapsing, slowly but surely. No announcements, no warning signs, just chaos creeping in silently. This is the picture painted by Leave the World Behind, a chilling story about how fragile human civilization becomes when everything we rely on suddenly disappears. No zombie outbreak, no bomb explosions, just a much quieter threat, yet deadly all the same. During a long holiday, Layla and Matt decide to take their two children, Zara and Johan, away from their daily routine. They rent a large house tucked deep in the forest, far from the noise of New York City. For Layla, whose life is constantly surrounded by technology and social media, this vacation feels like a rare chance to truly pause and rest. The plan is to stay there for about a full week. Upon arriving at the house, Layla immediately invites her children to enjoy the atmosphere and explore the many facilities. Watching Zara and Johan lose themselves in the moment, Layla feels confident that this vacation was the right choice. The house feels incredibly comfortable, spacious, peaceful, and filled with a sense of luxury in every corner. But one small problem soon becomes clear. There's almost no food in the house. Without much thought, Layla decides to drive to a supermarket located quite far from the property. And without realizing it, that simple decision quietly becomes the beginning of a series of strange events that will turn this peaceful getaway into a nightmare. After filling her cart with all the essentials, Layla gets ready to head home. But in the parking lot, her attention is drawn to a stranger buying an unusually large amount of food. Layla feels puzzled. Why would someone need that much food, as if they were preparing for something? Back at the house, Matt suggests taking a short trip to a nearby beach. He's heard that the beach is known for its beautiful, untouched scenery. Without giving it much thought, they decide to go. Once they arrive, the small family enjoys the moment, soaking up the sun. That's when Zara, who has been quietly watching the ocean, suddenly tells her parents that a large ship is moving toward the shore. At first, Matt assumes the ship is simply passing by. But minute by minute, the ship keeps getting closer, far too close. Sensing that something isn't right, Matt quickly gathers his family and decides to leave the beach and return to the house. On the way back, they talk again about the strange ship. Matt tries to stay positive, convincing himself it was probably just a navigation mistake. But the conversation comes to a sudden stop when a group of deer unexpectedly appears, standing silently around the rental house. Night falls. Matt and Layla spend some time together while their children are already fast asleep. That's when they realize something unsettling. The signal is completely gone. And as the night grows deeper, the calm shatters in an instant. Someone knocks on their door. On high alert, Matt immediately braces himself. He grips a flower vase as a makeshift weapon, worried the knock might come from someone with bad intentions. When the door opens, a middle-aged man stands there, introducing himself as Hant, accompanied by his daughter, Zia. Hant claims to be the rightful owner of the house. He explains that a massive power outage has hit the city. Unable to return to their Manhattan apartment, Hant and Zia decide to come back to this house instead. Lila clearly doesn't trust the story right away, especially since Hant is a well-dressed black man whose presence brings an unspoken social and racial tension into the room. Meanwhile, Matt tries to stay rational, stepping in to keep the situation from escalating. In the end, they agree to let Hant and Zia stay overnight in the basement. Near midnight, the television suddenly switches to a national emergency broadcast. There's no clear explanation of what's happening, but one thing is certain: something big is unfolding. Hant chooses to sleep in the basement, a decision that makes Zia feel humiliated and unvalued. Yet the deepest discomfort is felt by Lila. She believes they should have sent Hant and Zia away. After all, the house was legally rented by them. Lila isn't fully convinced that Hant is truly the owner of the house. The next morning, Lila is awakened by Ross complaining that he can't watch his favorite TV show. The signal is completely gone. Her confusion deepens when she realizes her phone has lost all signal as well. The only information available is a brief notification about a power outage across the US East Coast. Television and radio broadcasts remain completely inaccessible. Matt finally decides to head into town to find out what's really happening out there. Meanwhile, back in the kitchen, Layla is approached by Hant. Hant asks whether the signal on Layla's phone has disappeared as well. Layla simply nods. She still believes this is nothing more than a technical issue. Elsewhere, Zara stands silently near the pool when she suddenly freezes. Dozens of deer emerge out of nowhere, standing perfectly still as if they're watching the house. On the road, Matt doesn't see a single person, no cars passing by, no signs of life. The town feels empty and dead. The silence only deepens Matt's confusion about what is truly going on. Meanwhile, Hant decides to visit the nearest neighbor's house in search of answers. What he finds is anything but normal. The yard is in chaos, broken glass is scattered everywhere, and most disturbing of all, there's no one inside. After searching every room, Hant discovers a satellite phone. It should have the strongest possible signal, but when he turns it on, the phone is completely useless. Hant begins to realize that something doesn't make sense. With growing unease, Hant walks toward the nearby beach. At the shoreline, he stops cold. Dozens of bodies lie scattered, victims of a plane that crashed directly into the area. Before she could fully process what she had just seen, another plane appeared in the sky, out of control, heading toward the same crash site. Elsewhere, Johan and his younger sister decided to head into the forest to get some fresh air and escape the tension. Along the way, they stumbled upon an old cabin that looked long abandoned. But deep within the forest, something unsettling happened. Johan was suddenly bitten on the leg by a creature they had never seen before. Assuming it was just an ordinary animal, Johan urged his sister to head back home. Meanwhile, inside the rented house, Hant told Lila about something bizarre he had just witnessed, a plane crashing near the beach. Even Hant himself couldn't understand what was really going on. Not long after, a powerful sound wave suddenly struck. Their ears throbbed as if hit by an invisible force. Realizing her children still hadn't returned, Lila rushed into the forest. She called their names over and over, pushing through the darkness and trees, until finally she found both of them. Without wasting a word, she immediately took them back to the rented house. Inside the house, Lila's panic only continued to grow. Her husband still hadn't returned. Just as Layla was about to go out and look for him, Hant stopped her. He believed that with conditions spiraling out of control, being outside was far more dangerous. Elsewhere, Matt froze when a woman suddenly approached him. She spoke in Spanish, desperately asking for help. Though he didn't understand her words, her gestures made it clear she was terrified. But for his own safety, Matt chose not to take the risk and left her behind in tears. But the strange events didn't stop there. Matt suddenly had to move fast as a drone flew overhead. The drone scattered sheets of paper through the air. Moments later, Matt finally made it back home. His arrival brought Layla an overwhelming sense of relief. Matt headed to the kitchen and explained that the roads felt eerily wrong, not a single person in sight. He then handed over a pamphlet he had found along the road. Since the writing was in Arabic, Hant admitted he couldn't read it. But Johan, who had seen the language before in a video game, said the message meant one thing: the destruction of America. Sensing that something was seriously wrong, Layla urged her entire family to return to their own home before things spiraled any further. Hant tried to stop them. He believed the situation outside was likely far more dangerous than they realized, but Matt's family stood by their decision. They chose to leave, ignoring Hant's warning. On the road, Zia suddenly asked her father about her mother, who was known to be on a flight heading toward them. Knowing the truth, Hant chose to hide it. He was fully aware that his wife was already gone. The plane seen crossing the sky had completely exploded mid-air. As they entered an urban area, Matt and his family were stunned by an unbelievable sight. Driverless electric cars were moving on their own, crashing into one another and blocking the roads. Without warning, more vehicles came speeding in from behind, slamming into the cars that had already stopped. Everything happened so quickly that Matt had no choice but to turn around and head back to the rental house. After hearing everything that had just unfolded, Hant's expression immediately changed, as if he knew something far bigger than they could comprehend. That night, Layla approached Hant in the kitchen. He sat alone, drinking silently in the stillness. Hant then invited Layla to have a drink with him. Without saying much, Layla accepted the invitation. As the night grew deeper, Layla began to wonder who Hant really was and what he did for a living. Hant answered simply, he was a consultant. But the mood suddenly shifted when Hant revealed a major secret he had been keeping. A few months ago, he had a client whose business was unusual. The man was an IT specialist. One day, the client asked Hant to help move an enormous amount of money. After that, the man said goodbye. He claimed he was leaving and would never return. Before disappearing, he told Hant to take care of himself. Hearing the story, Layla grew even more uneasy about what all of this truly meant. Hant explained that this client could very well be connected to the strange events unfolding around them. Hant believed the chaos was the work of hackers, causing the nation's technological systems to collapse entirely. Not long after, the sound waves returned, far louder than before. Windows shattered, lights exploded, and the entire house was jolted awake in an instant. No longer feeling safe, Layla decided they would all sleep together in the same room. The next morning, Johan woke up in horrifying condition. He was vomiting blood. Even worse, several of his teeth fell out for no clear reason. Seeing this, Layla panicked and called for Matt as fast as she could. Matt suggested taking Johan to the hospital immediately, but then they remembered the roads outside were no longer passable. Layla was left in utter confusion. Hant tried to calm Layla and promised to help by asking the nearest neighbors for assistance, but the plan suddenly changed when Zara vanished without a trace. With the situation growing critical by the second, Hant began assigning roles. Hant, Matt, and Johan would head to the neighbor's house to look for help, hoping they might have the medicine he needed. Meanwhile, Layla and Zia were assigned to search for Zara deeper in the forest. Along the way, Layla kept calling out her daughter's name, but Zara was nowhere to be found. While inside a small cabin, Zia finally opened up to Layla. She admitted how deeply worried she was about her mother. The words hit Layla hard because she already knew the truth that Zia's mother was gone from what Hant had told her earlier. Layla felt ashamed. She realized her suspicion toward Hant and Zia had been a mistake. Meanwhile, Hant, Matt, and Johan arrived at their neighbor's house. Hant knocked on the door and called out the homeowner's name, Danny. But Hant froze when Danny stepped outside, pointing a gun straight at them. Danny ordered them to leave immediately and stay away from his property. Matt stepped in, explaining why they were there. His son was sick and needed medicine. Danny didn't care. A brief standoff followed. Both Haunt and Danny slowly raised their weapons. Though they were friends, Matt kept trying to calm the situation. Eventually, Danny relented. He agreed to help, trading several medications for $1,000 in cash. Before leaving, Matt showed Danny the Arabic pamphlet they had found earlier. Danny said he already knew about it. A friend of his in another region had experienced the same thing days earlier and warned him of the coming destruction. That was why Danny had stocked up on food at the supermarket, the incident Layla had noticed earlier. As Haunt prepared to leave, Danny suddenly pointed them toward a nearby house that had long been abandoned. According to rumors, the house contained an underground bunker built to survive doomsday. Meanwhile, we return to Layla and Zia, still searching desperately for Zara. Without warning, a loud noise echoed outside the cabin. Layla rushed forward, unknowingly leaving Zia behind. Zia was now surrounded by dozens of deer, standing perfectly still, their gaze disturbingly unnatural. Realizing what was happening, Layla spun around, screaming and trying to scare the animals away. But as she tried to return, Layla suddenly stopped in her tracks. In the distance, she saw a city in ruins. Explosions, fire, and thick smoke filled the sky like a massive war unfolding. Elsewhere, deep in the forest, Zara is finally revealed. She is inside a remote house. There, Zara finds an underground bunker. Inside are massive supplies, food, medicine, and survival equipment. This is the very house Danny mentioned earlier. On a monitor inside the bunker, a broadcast appears. The White House has been taken over by the US military. All American citizens are instructed to seek shelter immediately. And it is at that moment the film ends. The story offers no clear answers. We don't know if this is an invasion. We don't know who the real enemy is. And that is where the true horror lies. When civilization collapses, not because of bombs, but because we depended too much on the system. And when that system fails, we are completely unprepared.